Make big moves. Take the big shot. It takes no more effort to make the big move than it does to make the small move. Now, I kind of fell into making big moves over 35 years ago, kind of by accident. I'm going to tell you a story about that, but make big moves. You make a little move, and what happens is you negotiate with yourself that, well, if it doesn't work out, no big deal. But there's two sides to every coin. There's a polarity to that. You make a little move and it doesn't work out, no big deal. And if it does work out, no big deal. And those kind of moves are not going to drive you. They're not compelling. They're not going to pull you into taking massive action. They're not going to do it because they're not big moves. Big moves really doesn't take more effort than it does to make small moves. But however, if a big move doesn't work out, it is no big deal. You just move on to your next big move. But if it does work out, the payoff is 10 times. If you make a big move and it pays off, it makes a big deal. And those kind of moves are life-changing. And isn't that the kind of moves you want to make? Life-changing moves. You know in your heart, you know what is in your mind and heart that is driving you to be ambitious towards making a big move. If you're watching this, I'm sure you're considering making a big move, and I want you to do it. When I was a deputy sheriff in Livingston County, upstate New York, very small sheriff's department of 20 deputies. It's the county where I grew up, a little hometown where I grew up. And then I started watching movies about New York City, Los Angeles. And I had been doing stand-up comedy for my class in high school. And I had done plays, and I liked the entertainment business idea or career idea. But then I started with the books and the TV programs and the movies, and I got it in my mind, wow, it would be so exciting to join a large metropolitan police agency. I would like to get out of this backwoods, sheriff's department. I mean, I loved it at the time. I had 5 years there. But there was one night, I went 2 hours and I didn't see a car. And I had gone through a divorce, and riding those lonely roads at night at 3 o'clock in the morning, not seeing or talking to anybody, can really isolate you, and it can be very depressing at times. So I got it in my head. I wanted to go to a large metropolitan police agency. And you know what? I was reading police magazines. There was no internet at the time. This is 1982. And so I'm looking in these police magazines, and I'm looking at all these police departments that are hiring. You know what? I took action. It said, call here, send for an application. So I did. I sent for applications from Dallas PD, Houston Police Department, Los Angeles Police Department, LA County Sheriff, New York City. New York City, that was my number one choice, really. And then I got an application for New York City, and then I got a test date in New York City. And my first trip to New York City, I go with my mom and my aunt. And to this day, my mom is still alive. We still have those memories of that trip, going to take the New York City police test. And see, at the time, you don't think you're really doing anything towards your big idea, your big goal, and it's real easy to do, right? There's no fear factor there because you're just applying, just calling for an application, just going down to take the test. But actually, you are making moves towards that big goal. Without even realizing it, you're taking steps in the right direction towards the big move. But right now, there's no really fear in that. But like I said, I still have great memories just of the application process. So just the fact that you make a big move in your head and then you take small steps, sometimes just those small steps creates lifelong memories that are going to stay with you for the rest of your life, obviously, because they're lifelong memories. And so my mom and I, my aunt passed away, but my mom and I still have those memories of going to New York City, her first time going to Macy's, riding the subway, and going to a Broadway show in 1982. And so here I was, making some steps towards a big move. But there was nothing on the line yet. And then I got noticed to go to Los Angeles. And they had an out-of-state program at the time. Hey, come out to Los Angeles and we'll test you in 4 days. You'll get all your testing done. So day one, you take the written test. If you pass, you take the physical agility right after. The second day, then you have your oral interview. If you pass that, then you move on to the first phase medical test. And man, I got everything almost all done. And all I had left was the polygraph, a psychological, and second phase medical. And so I was excited. Here I was, creating memories in this big move. I'll just never forget the last day of testing. I was staying with my aunt and uncle in Santa Monica, and I was so excited. I'm all done with testing. I'm gonna go to Universal Studios, Hollywood. I'm taking the tour, and I still have memories of that tour. And it was just amazing. It was a great time, great memories. I was really getting excited. Wow, could this be? Right, I was creating images in my head. What would my future look like working out here in Los Angeles, right? Being with all around entertainment. Maybe I'd be doing stand-up comedy here too. But then I'll tell you what happens. 8 months down the road, you get the call. Well, first I got a call and said, hey, you got a background investigator now in LA, and need you to come out and take the polygraph test. Hey, another trip to California. Went out and passed the polygraph. Background investigator says you're in the process. Next thing you know, you're going to hear from us whether you get the job or not. And then you'll get an academy date. Oh, okay. Sounds great. Pretty exciting. No big fear yet. Taking a job with the LA Sheriff's Department, the largest sheriff's department in the world, 3,000 miles away from home, and changing the coast, leaving a job I had for 5 years, developed a good reputation. That's a big move. But so far, just taking some steps in that direction. Right? No big fear. Stop me. No way. Then the call comes. Right? 8 months later, the call comes. How you doing, LA County Sheriff? You ready for a job? And I took about 3 seconds and I said, yes. But in the 3 seconds, there was big fear there. There was big fear. The fear of change is really big. The fear of change is really strong. It's one of the strongest things that stop people from making the changes they should change. The fear of change is very, very big. Now, there's a way to overcome the fear of change, and it's by fear. Fear overcomes fear. I just figured that out today. And that's why I wanted to share this video with you. Fear of change can be beaten by fear. And all you have to do is fire that up. Stoke the fire of the fear of what would happen if you don't do it. The fear of not doing it, if that is stronger than the fear of change, then you will take the big move. You will make the big step. And you need to do that. And I did that, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all. Because people talk to you and they say, why are you doing this? Why are you're going to leave your family, your friends? You've worked here for 5 years. You have a great reputation. Why would you walk away from that? Do you know what it's like out there? Have you worked out there? Now, luckily, I had mom and dad. They just want whatever I want. They were 100% supportive of me doing what I was doing. And my grandmother, who lived in California for many years. As a matter of fact, my mom was born in California. Now, she was excited for me. Oh, you're going to love California. California is unbelievable. You're going to have such a wonderful time. And you're going to be going to San Diego. You're going to be going to Big Bear Mountain. You're going to be going to Malibu and the beaches and Santa Monica. And you're going to be going to all these places in Santa Barbara and San Francisco. And it's just going to be a wonderful time. And she painted such a wonderful picture. And so that was my support. And you got to rely on those support because, you know, when you're sharing big dreams, big ambitions, big ideas, if you share them with small-minded people, they're going to try to put a little kibosh on you. They're going to try to put a little poo-pooing on your dreams, not on purpose. They don't want to stop you. They're worried about you. They really care about you. They don't think the way you think. They don't have the same dreams and desires in their heart and their minds. And so sometimes we have to use fear to beat fear. Because like I said, the fear of change is sometimes stronger than death. There was a story about this village, and they had all these huts, and they had lived there for centuries, or generation after generation. But in the huts, this disease got infected within the walls of the huts, and people were dying from this disease. And to prevent continued death, all the people had to do was burn their huts and move to a different location, create a village somewhere else. They just had to make the move and they would survive. But you know what? They didn't. They stayed. They stayed and they died because the fear of change was bigger, more real than moving. So they stayed where they were and they died because of it. That's how strong the fear of change is. And maybe you've experienced it in your life. But I find even today, even though I have habituated making the big moves, that sometimes I have the fear of change and I have to override it. I have to look back at my memories and say, wait a minute, look what you've done. Look at the big moves you made in the past. And the only thing that I always look back and say, what would I have changed? Well, I would have made bigger moves. That's the only thing. It's like taking that moonshot. You get to the moon. Wow, is that great? You took a moonshot and you landed on the moon. Yeah, but you know what I'm thinking? Maybe I should have shot for Mars. Maybe I should have made it a Mars shot. And that's the only thing that you're going to look back with. I don't want to say with regret, but you're just going to wish you took bigger shots, took bigger moves. I took a lot of big moves out in Los Angeles, but you know what? The ones I didn't make, it's okay, because I look at the ones I did make and they turned out fantastic. And I'm very thankful that I took those shots. And the thing is, a couple of those big moves, like renting out the Roxy on Sunset myself, producing my own comedy show there, no one told me how to do that. I had never done it before. So don't get that in your head. I've never done this before. People might even say to you, besides yourself, why do you think you could do this? You've never done that before. Don't let that stop you if you haven't done it before. Go forward anyways. What you're going to learn and what you're going to become in trying to make the big move is going to be worth more than its weight in gold. Make the big moves. I'm getting ready myself to make some big moves. I miss making the big moves. I've retired from the LA County Sheriff's Department. I haven't been doing stand-up comedy or producing any comedy shows, but now I'm ready to make some big moves. And one of those big moves is wanting to make this really my full-time job, creating videos, creating a YouTube channel that's going to be, that can create multiple streams of income. How can I do that? What can I learn to do that? And so that's the journey I'm on right now, but I'm going to be making some other big moves. And so I'm going to encourage you, make the big moves. And once you realize you can use fear to overcome fear of change. Fear of change would be the big obstacle. That's the big thing that will keep you where you are. You see, when you're going to make a big move, your amygdala, that part of your brain that becomes uncomfortable and is worried about you and it wants to keep you alive, that part of your brain gets stimulated and says, hey, wait a minute, before you make a move, wait a minute, this could kill you, this could be dangerous. Why do you want to leave the cave? Stay where you're at, what you're doing. Don't make this move trying to protect you. So we have to realize that we are not amongst the dinosaurs anymore. Sometimes we have to override the fear that amygdala part of our brain is putting in our thoughts. And we got to override that. And we can override that with the fear of what would happen if we didn't do that. You have to look at that. Okay, if this happens, if I make this big move and it's successful, man, what would that mean for my life? But it might not work out. Then you got to ask yourself the next question. What would happen? How would I feel if I didn't take the shot? What if I didn't make the move? What would that look like? What would my life look like if I didn't make these efforts? If I didn't make the changes? If I didn't take the shot? If I didn't make the big move, what would my life look like? And I'm telling you, that's probably going to be all you need to get you to move forward. And you know what? All you have to do is make the next right step, the next small step. Before you get overwhelmed by the big picture, reverse engineer your goal in that future image, reverse engineer it back to today. Okay, what's the next right step to take? You can even trick yourself. I did that when I was joining the LA County Sheriff's Department. I would tell people, you know what, I'm just gonna do it for 2 years, then I'm gonna come back. And then I ended up working in there for 30 years, had a great career. But to fool myself into going forward, I was telling myself, hey, I'm only gonna do this for 2 years. I was telling my friends, family, and myself, just 2 years, you know what, why not? And I can always come back. My sheriff said, here, I could come back. And so I kind of gave myself a fictitious lifeline, or a fictitious, small step. This is not such a big move because I'm only going to do this for a short amount of time. I'm going to try it for 2 years and see how it goes. But really, that's a way of tricking yourself into just taking the step off that ledge and trust that your parachute is definitely going to open, because 99% of the time or more, it's going to open. Take the step. Take a leap of faith. That's why they call it a leap of faith. You eventually got to let go and let it roll. And I want to encourage you to do it. Take the big moves. You're not going to be upset about it in the end. Oh no, you're probably going to direct message me. You're going to thank me, probably write me a long letter, maybe a big check, and say, Cliff, what you said really hit the home with me. And I made the big move. And guess what happened? Oh, greater things than these came to happen. Bigger than I ever expected came to happen. And I'll tell you a story. I've told it before. I won't tell the whole story, but when I rented out the Hollywood Palladium and I wrote the check, $5,000, to rent the Palladium, and I still had to get a lighting system, security, insurance, and I didn't know where that money was going to come from. And then I made my contract about 8 months ahead of the show that I had planned. And then Paramount Studios wanted the same date that I had. And I told them it was going to cost them $11,000, and they agreed to pay me $11,000 to change the date. And so I went from worried a little bit about my $5,000 investment in here. Before I even opened the door on my night of the show, I had $11,000 in my bank account because I made the big move. If I didn't make the big move, I wouldn't have been dealing with Paramount Pictures. I wouldn't have been writing them, right? What do you call it? A bill that they had to pay me, and I still have that check framed, right? Paramount Studios to Cliff Yates and Associates, $11,000. Make the big move. It's exciting when you have a lot on the line, because nothing ventured, nothing gained. And number two, listen, big move, big reward. You know what? Fortune favors the bold. Hey, I hope this video had some merit to you. And I hope this inspires you a little bit. I wanted to encourage you, and I wanted to make this walking around my own private island here in the Thousand Islands. Hey, if you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'll tell you what, it's a community of progress, and I want you a part of it. All right, I'll see you in the next video.